What is a psychological trick you know to really fuck with someone? Silence. It's a very effective interview technique, because as humans we are conditioned to break silences in conversations. I had a conversation with my former boss, who was kind of a psychopath. He started by saying he needed to ask me a question. Then he made a bunch of statements, and then just stopped and was silent. I assumed his question was implied by the statements, so I started to respond to the statements. He cut me off and chastised me for interrupting when he hadn't asked the question yet. Then he did the same thing. Several statements, then silence, then I start to talk and get yelled at. He did this 3 times before finally asking a question. I thought he was absolutely nuts. Later I learned this is a technique people use to establish dominance. When someone needs to establish dominance to work with me, I go find another job. When you are talking to someone, if you interrupt them and say walk with me in a busy tone and start walking away, they will walk with you and continue the conversation without hesitation. You can lead them wherever you want, really. I worked with a friend who kept a 12-pack of Mountain Dew under his desk. For a while I'd sneak extra cans back into the box, not a lot, and just enough that he was sure he drank more than the box would hold. He knows. Free drinks. Like the very old joke. A young boy enters a barber shop and the barber whispers to his customer, "This is the dumbest kid in the world. Watch while I prove it to you." The barber puts a dollar bill in one hand and 2 quarters in the other, then calls the boy over and asks, "Which do you want, son?" The boy takes the quarters and leaves. "What did I tell you?" said the barber. "That kid never learns." Later, when the customer leaves, he sees the same young boy coming out of the ice cream store. "Hey, son, may I ask you a question? Why did you take the quarters instead of the dollar bill?" The boy licked his cone and replied, "Because the day I take the dollar, the game's over." When you get into an elevator with other people, don't turn around to face the doors. It's a common practice in my country and people just stand there being uncomfortable. I hate it. Immediately after they look at the time, ask them if they know what time it is. Chances are, they will have to look at the time again. Stare at their forehead while they are talking. It really freaks people out. Generally anywhere that isn't their eyes but forehead works best. My friends always stare at my boobs when we're talking and it drives me insane. Hand them trash in a conversation. Usually, if you reach out with something, the other person will take it, and if they're busy talking to you, they won't pay attention to what you're handing them. I do it sometimes for fun, and the expression I get when they finally look down and realize I just handed them my trash to take care of is great. It's not really psychological, but let's say someone is 25 or 30 feet behind me while we're both walking down a hallway. There's a 90-degree corner coming up. I round the corner, then run really quietly so I'm really far ahead of the person behind me, then I walk my normal speed again. When they round the corner, they're surprised to see how far away I am now compared to how normal I was walking. You can also do the opposite. Wait until they are about to turn the corner, then start walking again, and they will be confused. My boss handles stress terribly, so in one-on-ones, he tends to snap and spend the hour complaining about people. Sometimes people end up getting chewed out or yelled at in a meeting that's supposed to be about their development. When I first began in my department, he noticed me putting on perfume and said his wife wears the same one. It's not anything fancy, just one that's widely known. Every time I go into my one-on-one with him, I apply the perfume right before. He generally speaks very softly to me and doesn't snap at me like he does with others, and I'm pretty sure it's because he smells me and thinks of his wife. If you want to really mess with someone, go up to them and ask them, "Hey, do you ever get that creepy déjà vu feeling?" Then like a week later wear the same thing and ask them the same question. I've done this to so many people and their reactions are hilarious. Point out something that someone does all the time. One of my coworkers would leave the office at the end of the day and forget his headphones. So he'd leave the office and have to run in again to grab them. I told him I noticed he always forgot his headphones, and how he's self-conscious about it, and never forgets them anymore. "Hey Brad, I notice how you never get your work done every day." Offer somebody gum, but don't take a piece for yourself. Look at the pack, flip it over, and say, "Okay," as you put it back into your pocket. Wave to random people in public, and when they wave back, look at them confused and point behind them. They'll be crying about the awkwardness until they start their new life in another country. When meeting someone for the first time, say oh hello again and shake their hand, even if they go for like a high five, transfer it into a handshake. They will not ask for your name or any information, they will just think that you definitely know them from somewhere, and they just forgot. Look distractedly at their nose or some part of their face, then scratch or rub the corresponding part on your own face. They'll supposedly get confused and think they have something on them. This was from the book, Mind Control, The Ancient Art of Psychological Warfare, by the dubiously named Ha Lung. My emotionally unstable brother bought this book and I had to see what the hell he was actually reading. The author sounds like a nutcase through his writing. Take a fake homework to school and ask them if they had done it. Don't worry, you can hardly notice it. Say, have a good day, and then follow it with something applicable only to them. Then watch them say, thanks you too, only to realize what they said doesn't make sense. I do this with Uber drivers all the time. Have a great day, drive safe, thanks you too. Wait. I like to be on the other side of that. I'll say thanks you too purposefully in situations like that. Most commonly at the movies when the ticket checker tells me to enjoy the movie. If you have access to their computer, take a screenshot of their desktop and set that screenshot as their new desktop image, then hide all the icons in a folder. They'll go nuts trying to click the images, but they're just part of the wallpaper. Bonus: flip the image upside down before setting it to their wallpaper, then set the display orientation to flipped. They'll be convinced their mouse is borked. If somebody is talking, giving you no chance to say what you want to say, drop something very loud on the floor, then begin to talk. I just imagine myself at someone's house dropping an antique vase or something just to get my voice heard like some kind of lunatic, and think that would be hilarious. That's called being a cat. If you're sitting on a bus or train and don't want someone sitting next to you, don't put your bag on the seat. Someone will ask you to move it so that they can sit down. Instead, as someone walks by, pat the empty seal whilst making direct eye contact with them and smiling. Works 9 out of 10 times, but the one time it doesn't work, good luck. Doesn't work if you're attractive. Tell someone you want to play rock, paper, scissors. As you're both getting ready to count down, compliment their shirt or something to throw them off and start counting down. Then you pick rock. When you interrupt someone's concentration during the game, they automatically go to the most recent thing in their head, which will be scissors, rock, paper, scissors. It works every time until they realize you're fucking with them. Adding, real quick, to the end of a request adds a sense of urgency that compels people to do whatever you tell them. Example: Derry, give me your wallet real quick. And before you know it, Derry hands you his wallet. For me is also powerful when asking someone to do something. People like to think they are doing a favor for someone as opposed to just performing an action after being ordered. Especially in my teenage years, it freaked people out to not react angrily to their tries of bullying/insulting you. At some point I even agreed with them on certain topics. That got them extremely confused. Prolonged smiles. It stops people dead in their tracks. I personally love to do it when someone's chatting shit. You gaze directly into their eyes so they lock theirs on you in return and then plaster a ginormous grin on your face. Sometimes it directly gives the message you're unimpressed and they stop. If they don't, you continue to maintain eye contact and smile the exact same way. They'll become increasingly uncomfortable and lose their train of thought. If you turn your head to look at something, people tend to mimic your behavior to see what you are looking at. It's instinctual. So I will look at random emptiness, and if people look at where I am looking, I ask, "Do you see that?" When they say no, I reply, "I gotta take my meds," or something similar. Some people have lively reactions. Before I argue or debate with a relative, I ask them what the criteria would be for them to change their mind. If they say there's no chance, then we talk about something else. When disagreeing with someone, try replacing but with and. It is remarkably disarming and disconcerting when the person you are arguing with stops arguing with you and you don't realize it. My favorite is to bet a friend at the bar $5 that I can drink their drink without touching their glass in any way. They'll almost always take the bet, pound the drink normally, and hand them $5. Most drinks at the bar around here are $12. chuckle for a moment, and by the next round, everyone has a laugh and learns a harmless new trick. If you've been in a space in close proximity to a stranger, elevator, library, etc., and neither of you have acknowledged each other or spoken, when you go to leave, say, "It was nice to meet you," then walk away. Do you know any other psychological trick? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.